Hi beautiful humans, so grateful to be able to share this with you. This has been a long time coming and it has been something that has been on my vision board for as long as I can remember. It's to create a safe place for people to be able to share their heart and to connect with other individuals that are on the path of self-discovery, finding the keys of self-awareness, sharing resources, and recognizing that as we uplift each other, we also uplift ourselves, and completely melting this illusion of separation that we have been fed for so long. So I am birthing, and have birthed actually, the baby is officially out of the birth canal. I have birthed a Patreon page. And on this Patreon page, this is a hub of individuals that are on the path of self-discovery that also listen to Deja Blu podcast. And if you're not familiar with the podcast, then take a hot pause and go check out the podcast. The link is in my bio on my Instagram. So the podcast is about 1.5 years old right now, and it is one of my favorite offerings in the world. When I was a kid, I dreamt of being able to travel around the world and to interview brilliant minds that are leading cutting edge of their craft, and thought leaders and artists and individuals that just love to scribble outside of the lines. And I may not be traveling all around the world, but thank you to the interwaves and Zoom and people that come to LA and live in LA, I have been able to interview some of the most profound human beings on the planet that I know of up to this point. So it's always been a dream of mine to be a TV host or a podcast host, or a host basically that gets to sit down with brilliant minds and interview them on their thoughts and their lenses of this world. They are artists and creators and people that are at the leading edge of their craft. And Deja Blu has been a place for that. So in 1.5 years, we have already managed to call in 150,000 unique downloads of people from all over the world that are plugging in. I have poured my heart and soul and all of my resources into creating this podcast to be a thing. And now that it is truly thriving, I am opening up the Patreon page to be able to call in the support to keep the sustainability of this podcast alive. So every single penny that comes in from this Patreon account is essentially going and being recycled back into Deja Blu podcast to continue to up-level the content, to be able to reach a wider audience, and to be able to keep this podcast alive. If you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm all about creating win-win scenarios. So I'm currently in the process of filling up the Patreon with lots of juicy, exclusive content that you can't access anywhere else but behind the walls of the Patreon account, including guided meditations, book recommendations, videos talking about certain gene keys, behind the scenes footage of the podcast guests, as well as an opportunity for you to ask your own questions that will be submitted to the podcast guests that will be answered during the podcast. Also, you will have access to other Bluebirds, like-minded individuals that are truly on the path of self-mastery and understanding ourselves so that we can be of service from that place. So if you'd like to join the Patreon and get all of the exclusive content, all of the juicy stuff that's going on behind the scenes, then the link, if you're watching this on YouTube, is down in the description box. And if you're here on Instagram, then it will be in my bio. I am so grateful for your support. I am so grateful for you tuning in to Deja Blu podcast. If it wasn't for you, then none of this would be possible. And therefore, you have supported me in making one of my greatest dreams come true. And if I was to have a conversation with my little 7-year-old self, little 7-year-old Blue, Charlotte, I think she'd be pretty happy. So genuinely, from my heart to yours, thank you for being a part of the Deja Blu family. Thank you for being a Bluebird. And thank you for sharing the podcast on your stories. Thank you for recommending it to your friends. We are just getting started. And I hope to see you over on the Patreon. Sending love. Bless.